Sorry for putting all the questions together for me. Yeah, Michael Gray, I screwed up. Yeah. We had the list of people before giving it to you. That was bad. Thanks for okay, so we have people online, you know?
Yes.
So we have some people who are joined by online, and people will dawdle in over the next few minutes. So this morning, Kay Smith from the library is going to talk about tools that the library has for automating and really customizing your approaches to staying up on the literature. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with how the library operates, but the Lister Hill Library has individual members who sort of are liaisons between different schools and the library system. And Ms. Smith is the person assigned to the School of Medicine and Joint Health Sciences, and she's a terrific resource. Hope you'll use this as a beginning of a relationship. She can really help you over the years ahead to really customize your ways of keeping up with the literature. And so I'm sure you'll be happy to take questions as we go. So there are some people who are joining us online, and we have microphones around, but they're not terrific. So if there are questions from here, if you can repeat them, then the people online will hear. And I'm going to be trying to monitor. They have a chat box. They can send questions in, and I'll be looking at that. So I'll interrupt if I think there's questions that they can.
Okay. Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I'm liaison to the CCTS. My colleague Jill Deaver is the liaison to the School of Medicine.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but it was close. And I'm also liaison to the School of Public Health as well. And I've been a librarian at Lister Hill for almost 23 years now. I've been around a long time. So I'm going to talk to you today about ways to keep up with the literature, ways to do your background research for your areas of interest. And my objectives for you are, after this session today, that you should be able to identify, keep up with new resources and services available through the libraries, be able to find research articles, books, whatever. Know the major databases that will be useful to you in your work, access full text of articles both on and off campus, and understand new ways to keep up with literature in your field. I have kind of a limited amount of time today, so I'm only going to be able to actually demonstrate a PubMed search for you. But I did make some handouts available to you with tips on searching a lot of the databases that are useful to you in your work. So I hope you'll pick those up, okay? So, first of all, just to start with, we do have a library guide available specifically for CCTS, which will actually cover a lot of the stuff that I go over today as well. And as I said, I'm the liaison to CCTS, so if you ever have any questions or whatever, if you don't remember anything else I say today, be aware that the librarians, we love to help you, and we're there for you. And we do a lot of one-on-one sessions with people, just sitting down and talking about your research topic, what you're trying to find, and helping you create a really targeted search strategy and figure out which databases to use and stuff like that. So we do that all the time. So be sure to check with us. So how do you find out what's new at the libraries? Actually, there's another guide that we have available with new resources at Lister Hill Library. This is a screenshot from that guide that has some of the newer ebooks that have been added. And a lot of these are being added, on a regular basis through the packages that we subscribe to on your behalf. So it's a good idea to keep up with those on that. You can also find out, whatever journals we may be adding. We don't add journals as much as we'd like to because of the ongoing subscription cost every year, but we are working on trying to build up our content a little better than sometimes we have in the past because of budget cuts, but we're getting there. And then also we do regular workshops. I do one on creating bio sketches for NIH grants and things like that through Science. These are all online workshops that we're offering now. Sometimes we do in-person workshops as well. We do a lot of ENDNOTE training. We do things on using specific databases. Another colleague of mine, she teaches one on creating really eye-catching posters and using data visualization techniques. So these are some really good workshops, and just keep an eye on that that guide for new ones coming along. And if we don't, offer a training session that you need or a resource that you need or something, let us know. Let us know what you need. Okay. If you're running into a problem with your search strategy or whatever, just chat in with us. We have a screenshot of the chat box here on our Ask a Librarian page here, so you can just, wherever you are, you can just kind of pop in a chat and ask us for help. And just make general purchase recommendations, comments, whatever, or you can contact me directly. Okay. And my email address, and I think I put my phone number too, also on that handout for you. So there are a number of services that we offer for supporting researchers, and we do, as I said, we do training on particular topics. We can also, do one-on-one training. I can guide you through how to do a good search. We do training in ENDNOTE, understanding the NIH public access policy and how to use the NIH manuscript submission system if you've got federal funding and you need to be compliant with your publications. Using my bibliography through the MyNCBI program, and again, creating biosketches. We do a lot of these, in person or online through GoToMeeting. And then we have, like, as I said, one-on-one sessions with people that we do. And this is some examples of some of the things that we do with one-on-one individuals. Okay. So, I'm also, kind of the point person for the NIH public access compliance things, requirements as well. So I can help you set up your MyNCBI accounts if you don't have one already. Get help submit manuscripts so that you can, for that PubMed Central requirement with federal funding. And I also often provide lists of compliant and non-compliant publications associated with specific grants for the PIs on those grant programs. And again, creating biosketches.
So is everybody familiar with what the NIH requires for people who are writing manuscripts that have been supported by federal funds? So some of the people in the audience haven't probably published yet. Maybe you can give a brief.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So back some years back now, the NIH began requiring, and other federal funders began requiring you to submit any publications associated with federal grants to PubMed Central, which is a repository for full text articles and things. You work with the publishers and everything, and most publishers have allowances for this, so that they'll either submit it for you on your behalf if you're lucky, or they'll allow you to submit the final manuscript into the NIH manuscript system after a certain embargo period. So you have, I can't remember exactly what it is now, but you have so many months until after you publish to make that available in PubMed Central. Okay, so it's a requirement. All right.
So PubMed Central is a publicly accessible database, so anybody can read it. And the publishers who think they own the copyright to your articles don't want to have it made available to everybody for no cost right away.
Sometimes they have an embargo period.
PubMed Central has a way that so my experience, if you don't submit your article as you are going through the proof page stage or right around there, it's really a pain to go back and do it later. But PubMed Central allows you to specify a time for which it,
yes,
after which it becomes public. So you can deposit it in PubMed Central and specify that it shouldn't be made public for 3 months or for 6 months, whatever your journal requires. And then you don't have to think about it anymore. That's way better than not doing it until the 6 months are up, and then you have to go back and find the perfect document to submit this.
And once you've done it the first time, it's not that hard to do, but I have helped people submit their manuscripts before, and it's it's pretty straightforward.
It's only for NIH funding.
Yeah, I know that it's only NIH.
I think it's FDA and stuff too.
Yeah. I don't know about NSF. I don't think they do. It's really life science related, but I'm not
it's primarily NIH.
But you know, if you don't have the PMC ID number in your bio sketch when you submit it from they will bounce your bio sketch back. So you're required to have PMC ID numbers associated with all your publications going forward, and that gets generated automatically when you put your paper into the PubMed Central.
Okay. Any other questions about NIH? Okay. As far as getting full text, one thing we always recommend when you're doing your searching or whatever, even if it's PubMed, which is freely available to everybody, we recommend that you go through the library's website to access PubMed, because that way it makes it easier for you to, whether you're on campus or off, to authenticate as a UAB user and get to our full text that we subscribe to on your behalf. Okay, so we have in our homepage we have PubMed kind of carved out in the middle of our website, and you can just go ahead and just plug in your information in that search box there, and then you pull up the reference, and you'll see the little button that says UAB article linker, and that's what you use to kind of link to the full text. There may be other buttons as well, and you can try those, but I would start with the UAB article linker first, and then what happens is you get this little intermediate box, and it gives you the options for linking to the full text, and then if you're at home, you get a pop-up box with that prompts you to put in your Blaze ID and password. Okay, and once you do that, you fill up the full text, and you're good to go. All right. So just remember to always go through the library's websites. Yes, ma'am.
So there have been times when I hadn't been able to access it through the UAB library, but there's another tab where I have been able to access it.
As far as going through.
So there was like a Mary something tab next to the UAB tab.
Okay, so the UAB article linker button didn't work, but the publisher button did?
I thought it was working, and it just wasn't available through Mr. Library, or through the UAB library system.
Yeah, it's not perfect. Sometimes the UAB article linker, sometimes we do have access to things, and it's not reflected, it's not up to date. We try to keep it as up to date as possible, but sometimes we miss things. So yeah, if you click on the UAB article linker and it says we don't have access to it or whatever, try the publisher button just in case, because sometimes it will work. And then if it doesn't, I still try Google Scholar, because you have this other, this is an example of a article that says we don't have full text for. And so I always try Google Scholar just in case somebody's posted it.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if I should have been able to get it through the library.
Yeah, if you see one that comes up full text and that says we don't have it, I would let us know about it, because we should have that.
Okay, and if there's a journal that hasn't been subscribed to, can we make a request?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, on that purchase recommendation form and that slide, please do. Or just, chat it in to us or email me, and I'll put it in there, okay? Yeah, we definitely pay attention to your recommendations. So again, this is another option if you try Google Scholar to get to the full text. If that doesn't work, you still can't get to the full text immediately. Be aware that we can get things for you from other libraries through Interlibrary Loan, and it's very quick. It's usually only takes a couple of days, and it's free to use. So you just you go into that option 2 on the UAB article linker screen, and you click on that request button by the ILL request form. We no longer have Get It now, by the way. I need to update the slide, but if you click on that request button by ILL request form, it'll populate the form for you, so you don't have to type it all in again. And then you'll just submit it, and in a few days you'll have your PDF. Okay, so that is a free service to you. Other routes again is Google Scholar. Now, the links below on this slide, the links below Google Scholar and EndNOTE, these are to our guides that have information on how to personalize Google Scholar and your EndNOTE to be able to access the full text, okay, through Lister Hill Library. It's not hard to do. You just kind of either well, I won't go into it right now, but they're just a little torques, things you have to plug in there. But EndNOTE, I'm going to go into this a little bit later. EndNOTE has a really good feature where you can find the full text, and you can use some special tools in EndNOTE with the PDFs to help you in your research. Also, Browsing, if you haven't downloaded that, it's a really good app for keeping track of journals that you're particularly interested in, and pulling up full text on your iPad or phone or whatever. So, any other questions about full text workload? Okay.
Browsing is free?
Yes, it is free to you. Mm-hmm. Sure is.
Where do you find that?
If you you go to our website and go to LHL Guides, or just search for browsing, it'll give you the information on how to download it. Okay, it's pretty easy. Okay. So you're doing your research and you need to find some background information, okay? And you need to do a literature search or find some books or materials on that topic to get you started. What you want to start with is again the library website, and this is a screenshot of the library website. We'll look at it again in a little while, but to look for books or electronic materials, ebooks on a subject, you would first want to start with a catalog, all right, to find out if we have a particular book on a subject, or ebooks. Just click on the ebooks tab and see if we have it electronically. And once you pull up your books that you're looking at, especially with ebooks, you can click on the view link, and that'll bring you right to the full text there. So it's we have lots and lots of ebooks. Most of our acquisitions in recent years have been, of course, electronic instead of print. So. And then there's special tools like UpToDate that provide point-of-care, evidence-based clinical summaries on topics that might really be helpful to you. And UpToDate we make available with a partnership with the Health Services Foundation. So it can be really useful to you as well. And then when you find your books and that kind of background research, you can also you might also want to do a literature search and for articles. And to do that, you want to use databases. And on our website, we've carved out some of the more commonly used databases, more popular databases, like PubMed, Scopus, Google Scholar, Embase, well. And if you click on the databases link in the ribbon, it'll pull up this long list of databases that are available to you. We've got hundreds of resources under that. So we do have like a category pull-down menu that you can kind of gather together some on your particular area. Here's one screenshot for one for protocols, the databases related to protocols, clinical protocols. So, and again, if you have any questions about any databases that might be relevant to your work, you might want to call me or one of the other librarians. Okay. Yes, sir?
I just downloaded the book.
Yeah.
It has two, University of Alabama, Birmingham Health Sciences and Sterling Library. Can we get both of them, or we have to
just choose one of them. It's, yeah.
It doesn't matter. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. They should both work. Yeah. And if it doesn't, let me know. But, okay, so usually PubMed is one of the first places to start, or one of the first places I always start in looking for biomedical articles. And this is a screenshot of the homepage for PubMed. It's considered kind of a gold standard biomedical database, along with Embase and a few others. And it's produced by the National Library of Medicine. PubMed and Medline, those terms are used interchangeably a lot, but actually Medline is the actual database and PubMed is the interface used to search the Medline database. Medline is the database of references that are fully indexed by the indexers of the National Library of Medicine, which are assigned controlled vocabulary subject headings called mesh terms. But PubMed covers more than just that. It also covers these citations that are automatically downloaded by the publishers that are usually very new and they haven't been fully indexed yet. So in order to do a really good PubMed search, you want to search using both mesh terms, the controlled vocabulary terms, and the keyword, and just basic keywords. Okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. And again, it's free to everybody. It provides links to full text to a lot of the, you can link directly to PubMed Central and a lot of other full text options through PubMed. And you can also set up your PubMed so that it has some specific preferences that you set through MyNCBI. So if you don't have a MyNCBI account already, I would encourage you to set one up. Okay, it'll be useful to you throughout your career, I promise. Okay, this is a screenshot of a record for one article in PubMed, and there's a little arrow pointing to the mesh terms at the bottom of this record. You also see over to the right the UAB article linker and the PubMed on the publisher's full text button as well. So if I click on the mesh terms link, it will pull up all the mesh terms. These are all the subject headings that are assigned to this particular record, and you can see they're pretty detailed. So we're going to go through a demo search here in a minute, but this screen has some searching tips for using PubMed. And again, I've got that sheet of tips for you to use in searching PubMed. Let's try a demo here. Let me get to this. Okay, so starting again with my library website. It's www.uab.edu/lister is the library homepage. And if you scroll through this website, I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can see again we've carved out in the center here the major databases and resources that are heavily used, and PubMed is one of those. And then above that in the ribbon you have links to Ask a Librarian, catalog, databases, link, that kind of thing. Just to show you the databases categories that I talked about earlier, if I click on the databases link and I click on this browse by category pull down menu, here are all the categories that are available to you. Okay, There's some for public health, for health services administration, for internal medicine, all kind of things. So if I go back home, great, I went to the wrong thing. Excuse me. I am going home, okay. And I click on, I can go ahead and just right now just plug in a basic search in PubMed right on this search box here, but I'm just going to click on the link to open up the PubMed database. And so this is the home screen for PubMed. There are lots of tools available to you. If I had more time, I'd go through some of these, because some of these can be really, really useful. Again, if you have like an NCBI account, you can sign into it here. I'm going to open mine up just so you see what it looks like. So you click on that link and oops. Remember my password here. Yep. Okay. So I'm signed in now, and if I click on my NCBI again up here in the top right, you'll see I've saved several searches here. I have my bibliography linked here with my publications for my biosketch if I want to update those. I have collections of references that I've collected on different topics I've been searching. It keeps track of my activity. Down here it's a link to Citing CV with all my different CVs that I've tried. And you can set your preferences by going to clicking on your username link at the top. And so when I show you my results, you'll see what happens with that. Now, one thing with PubMed, when you it has some an automatic mapping feature for you, so that it works almost like Google, that you can just plug in your keywords and it will automatically map it to the correct mesh terms for you in the background. And I'll show you an example of this. So if I wanted to, say, for purposes of this presentation today, I wanted to search simultaneous kidney liver transplantation. We'll get some up-to-date articles on that. So I could just plug in those words here, simultaneous liver. There it is. And it has some automatic completion feature, so I can just click on the link for that, the rest of that, and search it. And what happens, okay, there are different options for presenting your results. You see there's a new relevance sort order that you can use, this best match, but it defaults to presenting your results in reverse chronological order in the most recent publication date. And it's a little slow loading everything, but I've got 435 results out of that keyword search that I plugged into the basic search thing. And what I want to do is over on the right-hand side, on the right-hand sidebar where it says Search Details, if I click on See More, it tells you how it translated what I put in there. So you can see where it mapped to some of the mesh terms for what I was looking for. And so it's found kidney transplantation as a mesh term and ordered that together with the keywords for kidney and transplantation, and also the phrase kidney transplantation, and put in simultaneous as a keyword, and liver, the organ, as a mesh term, but not liver transplantation, which I would prefer. But it does a pretty good job, and it came back with 435, and I'm sure I'd find some relevant citations for my purposes in that. However, it could be a little bit better, I think. So I'm going to show you how to do a better search. So if I go back, I click on the link on the logo. One of the resources in the More Resources column over here on the right is the mesh database. So if I click on that link, I can search for the terms that I want. I'm betting there is a mesh term for liver transplantation, so I'm going to do that, and there's there it is, liver transplantation. So I'm only within this thesaurus of subject headings right now. So I'm just looking at the subject term right now. And so it kind of starts off with a definition of the term, some subheadings that I could apply if I wanted specific aspects of this. Okay, you know, epidemiology of liver transplantation or whatever. I could go ahead and click on those boxes and apply those. I can also, underneath the subheadings, I can click on the little box that says restrict to mesh major topic. And I want to make, if I want to make liver transplantation one of the main subjects that I'm looking for, and I do, I can click on that checkbox. So I'm going to click on that. And then underneath that it says, do not include mesh terms found below this term in the mesh hierarchy. I have this option if I want to. So if I scroll down to look at the hierarchy, you'll notice that liver transplantation is kind of under all, you know, other more general headings, but there's nothing more specific underneath that. So if there were, if I didn't check this box to not include those terms, PubMed would automatically search for those more specific headings as well. But it's a moot point here since there aren't any. So if I scroll back up, I've made this a mesh major topic, and you'll see there's a PubMed search builder over on the right-hand side. If I click on the little button underneath that says add to search builder, it just automatically populates that box, and then there's a button underneath that says search PubMed. So I can click that, and I can go in, and it's starting to search PubMed database for the mesh term liver transplantation. And I've got almost 40,000 references, but we're going to cut down on those, so don't worry. Okay, now I need to look at my other concept, which is kidney transplantation, right? As soon as this gets through loading. One thing you'll notice as you look at the results, okay, it's really slow. If you look at the results that are coming up in PubMed, if you've done a PubMed search before, if you haven't set up your results to do differently in my NCBI, it will default to giving you just the basic citation. I have it set up so that it's in my preferences so that it automatically gives you the abstract view. And it also highlights the terms that I put in. Okay, so there are a lot of different preferences you can set to make it easier for you. Okay, so back to our search. So now I'm going to search for kidney transplantation. And instead of going back to the main page and clicking on this mesh database, I can use this pull-down menu at the top where it says PubMed and change to mesh. I can use the X over on the search field to get rid of liver transplantation. It's still there. And do kidney transplantation. And there it is. And it takes me through the same process. All right. Again, I want to make kidney transplantation also a mesh major topic. So click on that box. If I look in the hierarchy, there are still no more specific headings underneath that, so I don't need to worry about anything more specific there. And I'm going to go back to the PubMed search builder on the right, click on add to search builder, and search PubMed. And it's thinking about it. Okay. All right. So now, remember I said in order to get at those, get at both the fully indexed references in Medline as well as the ones that haven't been fully indexed, the really new stuff. I want to use a combination of mesh terms and keywords. And so, but instead of, in the general search that I did with the automatic mapping, when it searched the keywords, it looked in all the fields. I want to be really specific. I want to find the keywords in the title or abstract field to really target my results. Okay? So what I'll need to do as soon as this finishes loading is go under the search box at the top where it says Advanced, that link to Advanced, and this will pull up the Advanced Search Builder. And if you look in this one, if you look down a little bit, you can see all the searches I've already done are still in the history here. So they haven't gone anywhere. And what I can do now is put in my keywords. So in the builder, where over to the left where it says all fields, I'll click on that pull down menu, and that's where I'll scroll down to find the title and abstract, change that to the title or abstract. In the search, I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to start with, we'll start with liver. And in the next field, I'll do again, change the pull down field to title or abstract, and then put in transplant. And after the root transplant, I'm going to put an asterisk, which is a truncation symbol. And this will allow me to find any version of that, transplant, transplants, transplantation, whatever version of that, okay? And without having to think of all the different ways it'll come up. And then instead of clicking on the search button under the builder, I'm going to click on Add to History. So it'll just kind of plug it in down the history searches down there. Then I'm going to do the same thing with kidney transplantation. I'm going to change the fields, title or abstract, kidney, oops, let's type correctly, kidney, with an asterisk after kidney for the plural. And then in the second field, transplant, asterisk. And I'm going to keep the Boolean operator over there with an and I'm going to add to the history. Okay. And so now, within my concepts, I'll need to combine the mesh terms with the keywords. So I go down to the history, and where there's a column there that says Add to Builder besides the search string. And so with liver transplantation, I'm going to click on the Add link by liver transplantation, mesh major topic. I'm going to add that to the builder. So you see it populates that field up above it in the builder. And then I'm going to add the keyword for liver and transplant in the title or abstract. And this time I'm going to go back up to the builder and I'm going to change the Boolean operator from the default and to or. And I'm going to add that to the history. Okay, so I'm going to take either one of those. And then I'm going to do the same thing with kidney transplantation, the mesh term, and kidney transplant keywords. Change the Boolean operator to an or, add to the history, and I've got my concepts there, my basic two concepts. I can go ahead now and put in my, my time factor, simultaneous, all right? So I'm going to go back to the builder, change the field to title or abstract, and put in simultaneous. And yes. And I'm going to put an asterisk after that for simultaneous, whatever. Bless you. And then I'm going to add to the history. Okay, so I've got everything. Now I just have to combine everything together. So I'm going down to the history again. I'm going to take my first combined concept with the liver transplantation mesh major topic and keywords. I'm going to add that to the builder. The same thing with kidney transplantation, and then the simultaneous keyword, and now I'm going to search it. All right. And what's going to happen, what you'll notice, is there are actually a few more that's come up under this search than did in the original search. But I'm betting that these are more targeted, actually, than that original search that PubMed did for me with the automatic mapping. All right.
Can I ask a question? So the keywords are words that you're coming up with. It's not like the mesh terms that... there's a separate list?
No, yeah, you pretty much have to think of whatever it is that might be relevant.
Okay.
You know,
How many was in the original? Was it
435, I think,
Yeah. So
and this is there's about 20 more.
20 more. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
but you can, you know, as you scroll through, these are pretty highly relevant.
Their automatic mapping working, it's also working very good.
It does work very well, actually. It does. And, you know, that's always, you know, when I first do a search, I'll always start with that at least. But this is, you know, I really want you to be expert searchers in PubMed, okay, and try these techniques sometimes because you can really do, you know, targeted searching, you know. And you can use some of these other tools like using the clinical queries feature to really, you know, target it to evidence-based medicine for your particular topic. There are other things you can use as well.
I'm sorry, where's the clinical? I didn't see where the clinical.
The clinical queries, that's off the home page.
Oh, okay.
If actually, I can go ahead and show it to you. I've got a little bit of time here. So if I wanted to use that, so I could just kind of copy my search strategy here, do Control-C. If I click on the PubMed link here on the left, you'll see the PubMed tools in the center. There are clinical queries.
Okay.
And what I can do is go in there and paste in my search and search it. And then I can see there are about 154 like clinical trials on this particular topic. There are also there are only 3 systematic reviews on simultaneous kidney transplant. So I can look at those. I can really, you know, target it that way. But there's some cool tools in here. Okay. Okay. And then, you know, if you want to, you know, go through and mark the ones in your result list that you want to save and you know, send to ENDNOTE or, you know, email to yourself or whatever, you just use these little check boxes. And then you go to the Send to pull-down menu at the top to choose your options. Okay. So any other questions about PubMed?
So how did you go to that clinical trial and review part?
What I did was, you know, what I usually do is copy my search string first. And so I'll copy that, and then I'll go to the home page, just click on the logo to go back to the home page for PubMed. Sorry, this thing's taking a long time to process. But I click on that, and then there's a clinical queries tool in the middle of the page that you click on that, and you can paste it in. Okay? I don't know why it's so slow. Oh well. So anything else about PubMed? I really want you to be good PubMed searchers, and a lot of the same techniques that you could use there are transferable to other databases as well. All right, they use the same, you know, asterisk truncation symbol.
Scopus can be they're very similar, but I didn't know what those features in PubMed.
Yeah, there's some cool tools in there.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay, well, a little bit of time now. Again, with the setting up that NCBI account, your individual account will allow you to save searches, create alerts, things like that. You can link it to your ERI Commons account if you have NIH funding, that kind of thing. And we do have a LibGuide that has specific, you know, help for that particular database, as well as, you know, there are other LibGuides for other databases as well. Embase is another really good resource to use, and it's complementary to PubMed. It has a little bit more of the, covers a little bit more of the literature outside of the United States, okay? And it also has a lot more of the drug literature, so it's really good for drug literature research, okay? In fact, they have a new pharmacovigilance search wizard coming out at the end of this month. It's pretty cool. So this has some information about Embase. Again, it's a gold standard database along with PubMed, especially for systematic reviews. Here are some tips for searching Embase. Again, in that handout that I gave you, there are some specific tips for using Embase. And again, I can sit down with you and help you with searching Embase. It also has like a basic search feature that you can, when you first open up Embase, you can plug in your keywords just like we did with the automatic mapping feature in PubMed, and it'll map to the correct subject headings for you. So you can start with that. And also, Embase also has an ability to set up your own account so that you can save searches, create alerts, things like that, just as in PubMed. And we have a LibGuide for Embase as well. Scopus is really useful, especially, to find out who's citing your work, who's citing other people's work. It's a citation and abstract database, so it's not really, it doesn't use controlled vocabulary in the same way that other databases do. It incorporates some of those controlled vocabularies, but it's more or less keyword searching for a topic. And what I like to use it for is that if I find some really highly relevant articles on a topic, and I'm trying to find others that are similar to that, I can plug it into Scopus and see who's citing that one, and kind of follow those citations to find other relevant citations. So you can, again, this slide kind of goes over that as well. Use the reference list and forward sites to kind of find other relevant articles. And you can also use it to find possible journals to publish your work in. This is hard to see. This is really small, but this is an example of a record in Scopus, and it's got the indexed keywords that are kind of linked to some of the other controlled vocabularies. It has a pointer at the bottom linking to the references for this particular citation, as well as over in the right to those citations that, those articles that actually cite this. So you can follow both of those. Scopus, again, has the ability for you to be able to set up your own personal account and save your searches, set alerts, things like that. So really take advantage of those. They can be really handy. And there's more. Okay, so I went through a bunch of stuff there on searching databases. Did I go too fast? Any questions about these? There are a lot of other resources that you can use as well. So, depending on your topic, you may be, doing searches that involve like mental health. So something like PsycInfo might be good for you instead. There are lots of resources that we make available. So just be sure to ask the librarian for help.
So we have those video recordings in the library website. Let's say I have a PhD student, I want them to do the right searches so they can do.
Yeah, in the LibGuides that I linked to, yeah, they're all linked in there. Mm-hmm. So. Mm-hmm.
Do you recommend any third-party applications that search all of the databases? I'm familiar with a few, but I didn't know if you guys had one that kind of.
We're actually getting ready to convert to a new kind of library catalog for both libraries, Stern and Mr. Hill, and that includes the ability to search databases for articles as well. We're going to be trying that out. It's called Primo, and we'll see how well it works. I haven't had that great success because I like to do them individually, but it's I'm old school, so it might work better for you. But I'm just concerned about you can get overwhelmed with some of these things if you're not really targeted in your searching. You just you get thousands of results, and you don't have time to go through that.
Right. My thought was I'm in a smaller field, and I know the 10 people I want to follow.
Yeah.
And then I know, I wouldn't do keywords. I would just say, these people I want to follow, and then whenever their work contains a couple key terms, that's the papers I want to see.
For that, I would probably use Scopus, to tell you the truth. I would set up an alert with those particular authors and just follow them. You know, but it's, you know, personal preference. So, okay, before I run out of time, I do want to talk about a little bit about ENDNOTE and some of the bibliographic management software programs. ENDNOTE is available free to you as a UAB affiliate. You can download the software onto your desktop, and there's also an online program that you can use. So, and it makes it really easy for you to collect references, organize them, and, you know, share them with other people. Also, you can, you know, easily format your papers according to the style that is accepted by a particular publication. Okay?
Is it available for residents, fellows?
Hmm?
Is it available for residents?
Yes. So if you go to our LibGuide, which is linked down here, it gives you instructions on how to download it, depending on if you
I
have
thought
it.
it didn't allow me to access.
I'm sorry?
I'm a fellow, it didn't allow me to access, and I think I asked someone, they said residents and fellows don't have access to ENDNOTE.
Really?
I had the same experience.
Oh, I'll have to check into that, because I thought you did.
Like an employee or faculty or something.
I think, yeah.
I thought you could. I'm sorry. I'll look into that. I'll look into that, because I thought as long as you were here, you could.
Yeah, the students can access, not residents, fellows, because I think maybe because we get paid.
Employees, yeah.
Still,
So
yeah.
we're not considered employees.
But you're paid by the hospital?
We did church circuit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think
check.
this is an issue that needs to be, you know, the IT side needs to be.
Yeah.
I think there was, most probably there was a overload. I mean, this cannot be.
Yeah, I would think
don't
you could.
there's a.
Yeah, I ended up just purchasing it.
Oh, no, yeah, you should be able to get that. I'm sorry. I'll check into that, because I think that needs to, that's not right. But you should be able to get into this and download it, and be able to format your citations while you're writing your papers. Another option, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. I said earlier in ENDNOTE you can use the find full text feature once you set it up, and use it to find, you know, pull in the PDFs into your ENDNOTE library, and then you can use some tools in the ENDNOTE library within the PDFs to, like, highlight specific sections you're mostly interested in or make notes as you're going through. So it's really helpful in your research.
So ENDNOTE has this feature,
Mm-hmm.
but is it searchable?
I think so, yeah.
You know, the notes that.
The notes?
That we incorporated, can we search those?
I
Because
think
there are
so.
some that you can just search. I tried it and ENDNOTE was not successful.
I think so. I'd have to check with, I'd have to check on that too, but I think you can. I think there's a way. Jennifer Long over at Stern Library is really the guru for ENDNOTE, so I can check with her and find out. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'll email you. And
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. So I will promise I will check with her as soon as I get back.
Thank you.
Mendeley is another option, and this is also available to you, and maybe that would be another option, but there is a UAB institutional group for that as well, and some people find Mendeley a little easier to use than ENDNOTE. ENDNOTE's kind of, it's not very intuitive when you first start. It's kind of tricky, but once you get used to it, it's easy. But
Is there any reason why we would want Mendeley if we have ENDNOTE?
well, it's a personal preference basically, and I've worked on systematic reviews with people before in, like, different institutions, and they just, you know, it's just easier for us to share libraries through Mendeley, but so it just depends.
Can it import from ENDNOTE?
I haven't tried that, to tell you the truth. I bet there's a way. I bet there's a way, yeah.
If I continue to use ENDNOTE, and then if I have the sharing
Mhm.
situation, I could just import from ENDNOTE into Mendeley to share.
You should be able to at least save your library and then import those references in somehow. I have to check on that
I
too.
think the most recent ENDNOTE has like an online version where you have a user profile, you can create an online profile, and you can share it actually.
Oh yeah, you can share that too.
100 users on one collection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Importing in other tools, the problem is if you created categories in EndNote, like put your reference into different buckets, when you export in a RIS format, you cannot really literally see all those categories that you created in EndNote. So if you're going to do it, you have to export all those categories separately and then import them. It's kind of a little too much work.
Okay. Anyway, that's about it for me. So be sure to, keep in mind that we're there to help you, and if I don't have the answer, I will ask somebody else who does, okay? And you can always go to our Ask a Librarian page, just chat in, give us a call, whatever, and we'll be glad to help you. All right? Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you, this was good. I didn't know so many things about PubMed.
Oh, well,
I was thinking
there are more, actually.
Now my perception changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, and really feel free to stop by the library. People are really incredibly helpful. And I've used the ordering things that weren't in our collection a lot, and it's great for getting a chapter out of a book even that you don't have and stuff. But I've always gotten things within just a couple of days at the most, so it's been terrific.
It's usually pretty fast.
Thank you so much.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
So maybe we'll take a 3-minute break while we get our next speaker's presentations loaded up. And, yeah, sounds changed. I need to. Yeah, sorry, that's a good idea.
Right, and it goes to and fro a little bit, but then you don't finish it off once it's agreed, and then everybody's good, right?
Yeah, thank you.
No, that's good. I mean, good job.
So, yeah, right. So you can just drag it over.
Yeah. Oh, you should tell him. Oh, wow. And there's one of Victor's brilliant talks.
So there are 7 people online who volunteer. I will be monitoring through if they have any questions.
Right.
We'll ask them to change them from now to okay. But if you can, they have the potential to unmute themselves. So this little box here.
Right.
Whatever, please. So if you want to see, if you don't mind if I'm on,
But James should have
that will speed it, and you can see if there's any questions in this chat box here.
Okay.
And then just be sure when you finish, don't have it where you turn off the.
Oh, right. All right, I got you.
Okay. Great.
All right. All right. Cheers.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Want water or anything?
Yeah, I'm just getting a bit.
There's a bottle of the cream cheese. So are you finding life balanceable with your new duties?
Well, I'm of the generation, as you are, that I never thought that was possible, so, you know,
That's a little works.
rather than, I think the balance thing, the whole long metaphor, is more like the Chinese circus show with the plates on sticks, and, you know, which ones are you prepared to roll off, right? So I think the work-life balance thing is I don't know, I think yes, to answer your question, yeah, I'm having a good time with it. It's fun, different, you know. Sometimes it's just important to do something different. You know? I mean, I was vice chair for 7 years. That's a long time. You know, we took the department to, as I think it's going to be probably an IH company, hovered around 10. So, you know, after that, you know, you're just moving labs around and doing this and doing that, and it all becomes a bit same old, you know. But this is really a difficult job, though. It's interesting, it's quite challenging. Although the rest of the fact that you can't do too many people, that's not working really hard, and we're constantly reactive to the job again. It's hard for us to get on top of it.
Medication is the challenge.
Yeah, let's get going.
Okay, we need to go ahead and get going, please. So it should be that we record. So we've been in the except for our speaker drove home.
Oh, okay, I thought I had actually verified with the facilitator, this is MD, do I have
Everything. So anyway, it should be online, but here it is. The understanding is a little less than that. We should have
Okay.
So it's like
Oh, okay.
So the person is trying to getting
Yeah.
We're ready. We have two people who go through their Iron Beach experience. It's sort of nice that Iron Beach wants to have two people sitting in an Iron Beach meeting. So, we do this anyway, but, okay, so Dr. Darley Smart is back. I think all of you were here the last time we spoke, so I won't go into too much detail, but you know, he's a professor of the Department of Pathology. He's an expert on mitochondrial function and free radical biology. He's had an interesting career in both industry and in academia. And he's going to talk today about ways to make your oral presentations very effective and good ways to communicate scientific ideas.
Thanks. Okay, so we'll get started. Which of you have given talks in conferences? All of you, right? You given a talk in a conference? Yeah, I will. You will. Okay, so the good timing for you. Now, one of the things that is we sometimes forget, we put a lot of concentration on what we're going to talk about. But have any of you ever thought about what is the principle of giving a talk? What is the process? What is it you're trying to achieve? And just like doing a good experiment or doing a good study, actually there are basic concepts in giving talks and communicating that if you follow, you will automatically give a better talk, and you all want to give a better talk, right? Yeah, I do anyway. So we'll see how it goes, right? So we have, all of us have a body of work in our studies that we want to communicate. But sometimes what we do is we try to transfer the way the data is from one medium to the other. So I publish all my papers in Nature and everything. I guess you guys do too, right? Oh, come on, you are so... there's only 7 of you. We have to be a bit interactive here, right? All right, and the pointer doesn't work either. So we have journals, the conference, a poster, and a grant. All of them, you can use exactly the same data in those, but you can't present them in the same way. All of you have gone to conferences where people have just pasted their paper onto a post, haven't they? They're worthless because it doesn't work for that kind of medium. Same with talks, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Why bother with communication? Why is it good to be a good communicator?
But you want your message out there.
Right, one. What else?
We want to be marketable.
You do? What else?
People fall asleep.
Yeah. You don't want people to fall asleep. And that's kind of a real, that's really demotivating. Come on, they said all the things that matter in your career. What else? What do you think?
Let people know what you're doing.
Yeah. So you've got be persuasive. It gives you one of the few times in your academic life when you can stand up for 15 minutes to an hour and not be contradicted, right? With somebody saying, so you have to think. So it allows you to persuade. It allows you to inspire, to make, I mean, the number of times I've given a talk, and as a consequence of the talk, some student has come up to me and said, I want to work with you. I've been to a conference that somebody comes up, do you have any postdoc positions open? You can advertise as much as you like. You will not get a good trainee, but the way you get trainees is by networking. If you have that, it's the foundation for collaboration. If you give a good talk, people come up to you and say, I'm working on this, can we collaborate? It opens doors. After the end of the talk, something new can happen as a consequence of you giving that talk that wouldn't have happened in any other way. And it makes you a leader. It allows you a platform to actually lead and to influence other people. And that's the thing we value most in terms of our academic life, being a prime mover or a leader. For the quality of the work that you have can be identical or very similar to another person's, but if you have the platform in a meeting to talk about it, then you should do it. So if you get invited to give a seminar at another university, say yes. If you get invited to give a plenary talk in a seminar, in a conference, say yes. Tick the box when you put your abstract in to be selected for a presentation. So don't hesitate, right? So all of these things are a key part of what it is, why you should do it. Now, there is a whole principle about communication. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it. So this is called the anatomy of communication. So there is a why component, there's a how component, and there's a what component, right? So when we do, and I'm going to talk about what these things are, when we do scientific talks, typically speaking, we focus on the technical aspect in proportion is much bigger than, and then you have something about the content, but the why proportionately is much smaller. So a typical talk might be, diabetes is very bad. Diabetes is affecting a lot of people. MAP kinases are activated by high glucose. So that's the introduction, right? The why, and then we're suddenly into MAP kinases, high glucose, cell culture, and goodness knows what. So really, for it to be effective, this has to be in balance with all these other factors. And when you do that, it changes the way you communicate in a tool. And it has a much bigger impact with exactly the same kind of content. Now this is difference between information transfer. How many times have you seen people, typically trainees, and I've trained a lot of people, when they start, they act as if they're doing a journal club on their own data. So it's a passive description of their own stuff, as if they didn't do it, right? So this is called the golden circle, and I'll come back to that and where this comes from right at the end. But it should start from why, talk about process, and then end with product. So it's the difference between information transfer and motivation. Because if you manage to persuade people the why part of it is important, what it means is that then all the other pieces fall into place. If you do not do that, nobody will pay any attention to what you say. Because why do they care, right? So let's do a little experiment. You're not sitting that close together, but if I was to ask you, what do you do?
What do I do?
What do you do? One word. What do you do?
I'm a clinician.
What do you do?
Radiation oncology.
What do you do?
Research.
What do you do?
Medical oncology.
What do you do?
Cancer research.
What do you do?
Health services research. I'm cardiology.
Right. You all answered it like that. I am a X, right? Okay. I didn't mean what you do for money. I meant what do you do for the world? You all answered it in a very closed, finished way. So I am trying to stop people dying from heart disease. Right?
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And I can make one up for all of the rest of you, but I'll let you do it for yourselves. But you get the difference. It's a completely different feeling, right? If you say, I am a cardiologist, I'm a health specialist, what you've done is you've had to close that interaction, haven't you? Right? It's ended. Who are these two geezers?
That's an inquiry.
Very good. And these people discovered, or put together really, discover is a very interesting word in sciences, but we'll get around to that. These people put together the information that was needed to propose a structure for DNA. And people were trying to do that in the 50s for a long time. And any of you read their paper? Go and read their paper. You just learnt about how to Google PubMed and do all sorts of things for an hour. Go and find their paper, right? And I trust you, it'll take you 5 minutes to read it. It's one page. And it says, it has not escaped our notice that the specific pairing we have postulated immediately suggests a possible copying mechanism for the genetic material. That one sentence is a wide sentence, isn't it? Right? That one sentence gave them what?
Nobel Prize.
Exactly, the Nobel Prize. That one sentence. They could have said, there's the DNA, perhaps it will be involved in some kind of thing. We need to find out the mechanism. They made a model out of bits of old cardboard and wire, as you can see here. This was not accurate in any sense. It was consistent with a pretty low resolution X-ray crystallography made by somebody else. Who is this? One of the world's greatest scientists, saved millions of lives. Florence Nightingale. And she was a nurse in the war for the British Army. And what you may not know, and what she says is this, it may seem a strange principle to enunciate, as the very first requirement in a hospital is that it should do the sick no harm. Think of the environment she was in that she had to say that. Who were her bosses?
Army generals.
Army generals, right. They're not the most broad-minded, open-minded people you'd think, right? She persuaded by inventing a statistical representation and epidemiology in many ways. She was a brilliant exponent of how to represent data. And this is one of her pictures from one of her reports for the British Army. What it shows is the number of soldiers dying as you go out from this axis, and the number dying in red is out of the battle, and the number in blue is in the battle. And it immediately shouts at you, doesn't it? The number of people dying in the hospital is much bigger than the number of people who are actually killed on the battlefield. And this gave her this why. Then they made the generals say, well, okay, we had to do something about this because it's actually much more bigger impact on our strategy than the battle itself. Now, of course, Florence Nightingale has a very romantic aura about her, isn't it? The Lady of the Lamp and her great mercy and all of this sort of thing, all which are true, of course. But the fact of the matter is she used hard data to drive and use that persona to drive her point. She would not have been successful with her hard data if she didn't have that other persona, right? That other way of communicating. Who are these two? Einstein and it's a little bit more difficult. Einstein and Oppenheimer. Who was Oppenheimer? He was the scientist who ran the Manhattan Project. What was the Manhattan Project?
About the nuclear. Yeah,
developing the atomic bomb. So, again, about communication. Einstein wrote, has anybody ever read any, have you ever looked at any of Einstein's papers? Have a look. What? Completely do not understand. But even so, the ideas he managed to express in a very comprehensive way. And this is his letter to the president. And it says, he talks about, in the course of the last 4 months, it has been made probable through the work of Joly, Fermi and Szilard that it may be possible to set up a nuclear chain reaction. This new phenomenon will also lead to the construction of bombs. So this immediately, completely got the attention in an absolutely, and the rest is history, of course. And the Nazis at the same time were trying to develop their own atomic bomb. So here are these scientists used their platform to communicate very effectively to push the boundaries of their science and the use of their science. So let's come back down to planet Earth, no, sort of Florence Nightingale or Einstein, and talk about the actual conference. And how do you put together a talk on a conference? So who is the audience? That's sort of something you've got to think about. We've got somebody in the science. This is the Shark Tank, right? All of you, any of you seen the Shark Tank? Anybody not seen it? Well, the basic idea is that you go to this group of really rather unpleasant people, in fact, and pitch your idea for a commercial product, and they decide to invest in it or not. Right? So if it's the lab scientist, very often you relate to them, okay? And your translation when you're doing your talk is, what do I want to know? And typically you take all the background and all the why question for granted. And you focus a lot on the how, the technical aspect of it, and what data you got. But you have to remember that how narrowly I is a very important thing. So whenever you give a talk, you have to understand, find out who your audience is. Because in fact, you may be talking to people who are not related to what you're doing, who don't know what it is. And if you do a job interview, anybody of you done a job interview? The way to succeed in that is to actually take a different point of view and talk about what do we want to know and get rid of the I part of it. Because if you do that, naturally, then you're making a case. You become an advocate for your science, and then you talk about why. So the way to do this is to sort of step back from the data that you want to do and talk about how to tell a story. Who's this? Anybody know? The greatest storyteller of the 19th century. Charles Dickens. And he made his money by writing, anybody know any Charles Dickens? Oliver Twist. He wrote all these movies. You've seen all these movies, right? Tale of Two Cities. Lots and lots of brilliant stories. And how he did this, each story was serialized. So it appeared in the newspaper every week. So when it was in there every week, you had to have like he was the forerunner of the soaps, you know, there had to be a cliffhanger, right? So the story had to be self-contained, but you had to want to know what was going to happen next. And if you can say then, so you have a research program which covers a big area. And what it means is that you can't talk about it all in one go. So you have to select one idea or one thing to talk about, so they want more. Many people make a classic mistake in doing job interview talks, for example, where they try to talk about everything they ever did. You're much better off saying, I'm going to talk to you about a selected study that we're currently very interested in, which shows you my way of thinking and my approach, right? So it's also a performance art. Your behavior when you go to teach or give a talk is not the same behavior as you have every day. I don't sit up, and when I'm having dinner with my wife, I say, how is your day today? You know, I don't do that, right? I might just use deaf or something, right? But, I mean, I don't do that, right? You don't do that. But some people, when they get up to give a talk, don't change their demeanor. So who is this person? This is Seiji Ozawa, the former conductor of the Boston Symphony. And one of the things when you go to hear a symphony orchestra, right, is you look at the conductor, and how you feel about the music is dependent on how the conductor behaves, right? If you do go to a rock concert, then you do that. I went to a concert by Anushka, I can't remember her name offhand, who played the sitar on, so any of you go to that? No. It was brilliant. We have lots of good stuff here, actually. So anyway, the point is that the way she behaved on the stage and the way the thing made it feel, even though it was an audience of, you know, Alice Stevens, made it feel very intimate and very connected and allows you to make that connection. So it's you're using this as a mechanism to make a connection. Dress code. Now, you know, you can have to think about this. You can go completely over the top, right? You can be so formal that it's ridiculous and then everybody's wondering what the heck you're doing, right, going to a ball. Or you can be so cool that, you know, you can't see anything because you've got two dark glasses on. You've got to actually dress to be comfortable, and you don't want to make a statement in what clothes you're wearing. You want to make a statement about your research. So if you're at a conference which is in the Bahamas or something and it's all on the beach, then it's kind of not appropriate to wear a jacket and a tie. But if you're in a more formal setting, do that. So follow the convention and be comfortable. If you don't wear a jacket and a tie normally, it's not a good time to start. Now, this is one of my papers, and what do you notice about it, apart from its inherent brilliance, but what do you notice about it? A paper, in general. There's one figure, right? There's a lot of text, right? So it's a real challenge. You've got to understand if I were to read this out verbatim, right, it would take, what, half an hour or something, right? And nobody would be paying any attention. So how do I tell this story? I've got to think about it differently. And the key here is to control the flow of information. So build in layers your story, which means that you only show part of your story at a time. So here we are having a diabetic mouse model, and I set up the first part of it and talk about how it is going to work, and I introduce it. Then I introduce a little bit more detail, and then I get to the final thing of how I'm going to use it. So many people would just present this all at one go. But if you animate it, it means that you don't forget what you're going to say, because you can only talk about what's in front of you. And second is you control the flow of information. So let's talk about the how and the why thing. This is a how slide, and I'm going to give you how you do this, how this is done in a how mode. Right? Thank you for the invitation to talk to you today and present our work. We're going to talk about the type 1 diabetes mouse model. In this, the insulin A chain is mutated. This, of course, actually disrupts the endoplasmic reticulum. The mutation is the cysteine to tyrosine. It causes protein misfolding. That then causes ER stress, and that's one of the things that kills beta cells, and these mice are diabetic. Perfectly okay, right? So yes. Don't give me a nervous breakdown on the first part. So, right? But it's strict. What was the characteristic of it? How would you describe it? Totally, yeah, we did flow, right? But it was totally informational, wasn't it? I just talked about what it is. Right, this is how you do it in a while. Hundreds of people have diabetes. Diabetes is a disease in which the beta cells die. In fact, even though this has been known for many, many years, and the Greeks reported diabetes as a diagnosis, we don't know why this happens. There are many mutations that occur. I'm going to talk to you today about one of those mutations in the insulin A chain. Insulin is making 50% of the protein in these cells. It is a massive protein-making machinery factory. That goes through the endoplasmic reticulum. What happens if we have this change from cysteine to tyrosine? That stops the protein folding properly, and of course then causes that to accumulate, and it can't be exported from the cell. Importantly, this mutation also occurs in human populations. It results in that accumulated protein making ER stress. Then that leads to loss of the beta cell. What I'm going to tell you about are the mechanisms which cause that cell death and how we can perhaps intervene with them. So that's a Y-type explanation. Exactly the same information, but done in a... The second one was much better, right? Thank you. Yeah, right. you think it was actually worse. Okay, so notice, by the way, there's a point I'm going to make in a minute. The background here is white. This is what happens if you use some shaded thing and some branding thing that goes... I mean, the school says we have to have branding on every cell. I wouldn't do that. Don't have shading. Don't use the PowerPoint backgrounds, because they're a massive distraction. So you can see the bottom bit, you can't read. You know? So always use white or black. And there is another very compelling reason to do that, is because if you want to turn this into a review or a paper or something like that, it's easy because you did it on white or black. If you do all weird colors and shadings and things, you've got a lot of extra work to turn it into white or black. You do not know how good that projector is going to be, whether the bulb is fading, you know, so always go for the maximum contrast you can get. So there are ways of telling stories, and just how you need to decide what way your data works best to tell a story. Quite often in a 15-minute story, you're going to talk about something that's not finished. How do you talk about something that's not finished? So you can use different ideas. You can have an ending first, a history, a mystery, or a puzzle. So the dramatic ending first. This is the Bayeux Tapestry, which is England was invaded by William the Conqueror in 1066. And the Normans, to celebrate, made a tapestry that goes round all, you know, several hundred feet long. This is about 4 or 5 feet high. And this bit is the climax of the battle, and it says, Harold the king gets it in the eye. And he got an arrow in his eye, and that's what killed him. So this is the dramatic ending. So if you have a piece of data which says, in this data we found a surprising result that if we used a mitochondrially targeted antioxidant, it stopped diabetes, and I'm going to tell you how. So you can start with the dramatic ending and build yourself into it. Evolution. These are Coke bottles, and you can do the chronological thing. Typically, it's not something I recommend for a 15-minute talk because chronological things take a little bit more time to unwind, and they naturally have diversions and things which didn't work and, you know, come back. So it works, but in the end, you've got to deliver something really quite important. So, but avoid, you are under no obligation to describe to your audience giving a seminar the order in which you did the experiments or why you did the experiments or the experiments that didn't work. You're there to tell a story. The thing you're not allowed to do is make up the data, but you can organize the data to tell any story the most effective way you feel is appropriate and you want to. You don't have to do it chronologically. Mystery. You could say, we don't understand how this works and we're trying to find out. I'm going to share with you our progress so far. So you don't necessarily have to resolve it in a mystery. A puzzle, though, where is this? Anybody know? What is this?
A map.
It's a map of?
Country.
Yeah, UK, post-Brexit. So completely separated from Europe now, right? So you have to be able to finish the puzzle. If you do the puzzle thing, you have to provide the last piece, okay? So controlling the flow of the data is the best way for you to manage the narrative, the story in your talk. So you have the concept, the method, the data, and the interpretation. So why actually sandwiches the whole idea. Some people try to decrease the content of this and the content of this to put more stuff in. Don't do that. It doesn't work because it doesn't matter if you put how much data you put in, because if you don't say why you're doing it and what it meant, then it doesn't help anybody and doesn't tell your story. So this is what it looks like. You have the big concept why, you have the methods, how you did it, what you found, and then you come back to this. And then actually when you construct your talk, have a scheme. If you have a scheme at the front of what you know, and then at the end of your talk you have a scheme showing what you found out, then that gives people the sense they haven't wasted their time sitting there, that they've learned, you've learned something and you've given it to them. So when you do this, then clarity is the most important thing. Less is more, always. It is possible now with animation to put equivalent of an entire paper into one slide. All right? Do not do this. Apart from anything else, it puts a massive liability in the chance that the PowerPoint is not going to have a fit and collapse in the middle of it goes up dramatically the more you do that. So, Einstein again, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And that's a very important thing. I often find when I'm giving my own talks that, and it's very good thing to give a talk because you sometimes find out that you didn't understand what you thought you did because the process of explaining to somebody else makes you look at it a bit differently. What are the 3 worst things you can do in a talk?
Fall asleep.
Yourself, yeah, that would be disaster. I don't actually have that actually on the list, but yes, that would be 4th. Next. What else? Come on, it's obvious. You've all seen it.
Read from the slides.
Yeah, that's not too good. What else? You've been in some really bad talks, right? What was bad about them?
Boring.
Boring. What else?
Too much information.
Too much information. Very good. What else? Very good means you've got one on my list. What else?
Do you rush through it?
Sorry?
Do you rush?
Yeah, lack of pace. What about related to that? What else?
You totally interpret what you've done.
Yeah, going over time.
I was just thinking.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so let's do it. Going over time. I had to get that one because that's the first thing I'm talking about. So going over the time. If you're doing a job interview, you'd be amazed. Whether people think you've done a good talk or not is basically whether you got up there, looked like you knew what you were talking about, and made an effort to engage. It's not usually too much about the content of it. There is a level of the content, but it's about the experience of the talk itself. Oh, so-and-so gave a good talk. You think about what you mean by that. It's not only about the content. The content might be about 30%. If you go over time, it's always they gave a bad talk, and it's rude. So how do you do that? It's very, very, very easy. And I promise you, if you do this, you will never, ever go over time. And that is, if you're giving a presentation, it's about 0.8 minutes per slide or 1 minute per slide. If it's 15 minutes, the maximum number of slides is about 17. So you have a title slide, an introduction, about 4 slides, not 1. Hypothesis, concept, data, you show 7 or 8 slides, a summary, and then acknowledgements. If you follow this structure, you will always, always be on time, and it will always be manageable. You won't have to speed up. People speed up because what they say to me is, I say, how many slides you got? 50. How long's a talk? 20 minutes. Okay. Are you really going to be able to do that? I'll speak fast. No, really. If I had $1 for every time I heard that. Boring the audience, we had that one, right? Whose fault's that?
Speakers.
The speakers, right? If you are not interested in what you're doing, they will not be. So, why are you presenting? Are you enthusiastic? Get us some sense of your own self, or get somebody to give you that, right? So, you can be really, if you're this depressed, your audience is going to be this depressed at the ending, right? On the other hand, you can overdo this, and if you're at a 10, you can be, we want you about a 7, right? And it's very interesting. This actually, it's not politically correct to talk about gender differences, but there are gender differences in style. And I usually see the guys sort of being a bit too laid back. I'll tell you a study, and this is what happened. And I see the guys say, I found this amazing data. It is wonderful. I'm going to tell you all of the fantastic things I found. I'm going, whoa. So be natural and strike the balance there. Performance, who gets nervous in front of a talk? I've been in this talk a lot of times. I get nervous. And there are 2 types of speakers, those that are nervous and those that are liars. That's Mark Twain. Nervous is okay. It's your friend. It makes you think better. It makes you sharper. It makes you engaged. Panic it's not your friend. Okay. So try and, if you're a panicker, then you've got to practice to get it. And that's where performance mode gets very there. You can act to become a different person. I had a student who I was training in one of these prep programs to get into graduate school. And I was trying to get her to present in a more professional way and not say like every 30 seconds. Like we did the experiment, like we got the result, like, And I said, can you just pretend that you're doing it? I said, I'll tell you what, act like one of the graduate students. There was this particular graduate student who was giving talks, and she did that, and she mimicked him. It was so funny. Exactly. His voice, his everything, his mannerisms. And I said, right, do that, but without the voice and the mannerisms, and you'll be okay. Sometimes you have to adopt a different personality to give a good talk. You can induce anxiety in the audience. If you are anxious, your audience is going to become anxious. And one of the best ways that this is not working, unfortunately, but one of the best ways to do that is with the laser pointer. So if you start pointing the laser pointer and there's this red dot in the middle of the chest of the audience, you know, the Marines are going to come through that window, you know. So you can make the audience nervous, and the best way is to do it with a laser pointer, right? Okay. Other distractions. Dress comfortably, we talked about that. Do not mumble because people can't hear you and they lose interest. Do not speak too fast because then people can't understand what you're saying and it all becomes a monotone. Do not read from the slides. You don't need to do that. Okay, you're only going to say 3 things or 4 things on every slide. So if you write it out, you can structure that, but you will find you can just say it, right? Shuffle. You know, it's this sort of thing. Oh, by the way, don't do this sort of thing. Oh, I really need to wander about. No, you don't, actually. Yeah, it's not a TV show, is it? Don't sway if you start doing this. Because then people want to reach for the bag in front of the seat, you know. They think they're getting seasick. Don't talk to the screen, not to the audience, because what I really want to tell you is about the things on this slide. And then your audience stops looking at you, right, because they can't see your face. They start looking at the slide. You have lost control. You have lost command. You have lost the audience. Right? Weather forecast. I wish I had the thing here. So I can do it with this. So today we have the data coming in from the northwest. And as it will come in the midday, lots of data will come down on you, and in the end it will be a storm, and Atlanta will be closed because of all the data falling on Atlanta, right? That is weather forecasting, right? Point at something, right? And say, this is weather forecasting, don't do it, right? You've all seen this, right? Oh, yeah. You might have all done it, right? Okay. Too much information. Somebody said too much information. This is a sign thing in some place in Ireland, I think, right? And really, too much information. It's absolutely hopeless. So you've got to narrow it down. So the choice is between the pub and the tea gardens, right? The pub. You see what I did? By using the mask on the PowerPoint, I structured it. So even though I have a lot of data there, I made you look at the data, the thing I want you to look at. And then I have control of the flow of information, control the flow. So this is the raw material. And I have to say, scientific raw material, this is a visual thing, isn't it? Scientific raw material isn't that easy sometimes to handle in terms of a talk. And the figures look like this sort of thing, don't they, right? Now, I guarantee you that you should not just paste the figure from your paper into the talk, because A, it looks lazy, and B, it doesn't control the flow of information. So what you do is, let's say, you then take one part of the figure, because when I describe data, I want you to agree with me. I want you to agree with what you're seeing. So when you see data, you say, this is oxygen consumption, this is time. These are the cells, here is a baseline. Now I add oligomycin, it goes down. It should go down. FCCP, it goes up. It goes up because it's using more substrate. Antimycin, takes the mitochondria, it goes down. I've got in your mind now what this is, and it took me 20 seconds. Then I show you another one, and I'll talk about that. A third one, and a fourth one. And I talk about these in sequence, and so now I build up a picture. But if I showed you all of that at once, when I was talking about this bit, you would all be looking at, you would have got bored with that, and you're all looking at these bits, aren't you? Right? It takes the same amount of time, but has a completely different impact on your audience. because they will have then mixed up the monocytes and lymphocytes, the platelets and the neutrophils, you know. They would have all mixed them up because you showed it all at the same time. If you have a complicated data, you can break it down and show bits of it at a time. So now this is a pie chart, and I'm going to talk about that one bit, then another bit comes in, third bit, and a fourth bit. If I showed you all that all at once, that's almost impossible to explain if you don't break it down, because people's eyes are flitting between trying to make that curve and that thing. So the audience wants to take control of your talk. So they want to interpret for themselves. And your goal is to stop them doing that and give them the information in the way you want to do to tell your story. And the same with this. You animate one. So we're going to talk about one bit at a time. Also, these were black and white originally, but change them into color. That gives you, that means then you can start to say, it's coding. So there is a subliminal message. So that color is the same protein in the both things. So people do that up subconsciously. So by using color, you can send codes to your audience and get them to think along the same way you are. You can actually introduce things one at a time and talk about them. And then once you've got the control, you can establish what happened in the experiment. So then that allows me to tell you something changed and show it graphically. So the thing you can do in a talk you can't do in a written thing is show movement in terms of time or concentration or dependence. And that makes the point very, very strongly. Now, who's seen one of these sorts of things in a talk? What do people say? They always say exactly the same thing. When they present something like this, they say what?
Sorry, I know the slide is a little busy.
Yeah, this is a bit, see, I know you can't read this, so don't expect it. Well, what a stupid thing to say. Why on earth are you showing it then? Okay? It's absolutely ridiculous. What are you saying? That you can make a big list? Right? It doesn't make sense to do that. So you have to think about it. So you have to, what you want to do is you think, why am I doing this? You want to break it down into process. So you talk about process first, the biological process in this case, and then you talk about each section and take it out, and you color code that. And then you can blow it up to talk about it in more detail. And then you can say similar things were happening with that. So by restructuring that, you move from a disorganized list, or the impression of a disorganized list, to a structured message. Right? So, and it takes a little bit of time, but it's very easy to do. If you have too many bullet points, it looks like you've got a nervous affliction on the thing, right? And so you don't really need to do that, okay? So just think about what you're trying to do. Now, text doesn't work. It's not a visual thing. So this is basically telling you why cardiovascular disease is a bad thing. And you've got two choices here. You either summarize it in a couple of words, you read it, or you let the audience read it. None of which is very good, right? Because you lose control of the narrative. Use a picture. So you talk about cardiac surgery, you talk about the different kinds of operations, then you talk about and there's a bit of a list here, but you could see how the list is then controlled in the context of what you're trying to say. Check out the venue. Different places work in different ways, so you need to make sure that, I mean, you know, the pointer works and all that sort of thing. Most conferences and things, they allow you, there is a place where you can run through the slides and that sort of thing will make you work. Don't plug your own computer, okay? It's very annoying for everybody else and it always creates some technical problem. If you absolutely have to, because you've got some particular kind of videos or something, fair enough, right? But you've got to give people a heads up, okay? you need to check that it's working. If there are 3 screens, you can't use a pointer, right? You have to use this thing. And these things are really tricky. I mean, if you're slightly discoordinated like me, you can turn the entire projector off, or the air conditioning or something, you know what I mean, by pressing the wrong button. So watch how it works. I've done that before, press the wrong button and turn the projector off. That is really embarrassing, because then it takes 3 minutes to warm up, right? Have you ever heard, oh, it's a Mac PC problem? Have you ever heard that? It's not. What problem is it? What problem is it?
Presenter.
Yeah, the presenter not checking whether you had a compatible talk or not, right? When you have a spell check, they have these squiggly lines underneath. That is not an automatic decoration. It means it's spelt wrong, right? If you accept it, that means for eternity you will be spelling whatever it is wrong, okay? So look, if you have the Alabama flag everywhere, it's not that suddenly you became patriotic for Alabama, is it? It's because have you ever seen this in data slides? What happens is, if you have embedded complex data in an Excel spreadsheet and you transfer it onto a laptop through another, and you don't transfer the data with it, it can't talk to the original data. So when you've transferred it to your flash drive, check it on another computer to make sure that the data you've got is linked. Okay? Questions? Questions are difficult. Who gets nervous at questions? I hate questions, because that's when you can get trapped. So I'm going to give you all of the tips of how to handle questions. Listen first. Don't be so relieved you understand the question that you jump in. Oh, yeah, I know that. Be open and interested. Not, right? Don't look like you think it's a stupid question. Thank the questioner. That's a very interesting part. Not, that's so ridiculous, we never thought about it. Difficult questions. The multiple questions within one. This is a senior investigator person who typically feels they should have been giving the talk and not you. So they want to try and use this as a vehicle to, that was a very nice talk. Don't say it's a very nice talk, by the way, because that's ridiculous. Otherwise you're saying it for every single person. Even it's kind of patronizing. You just say, oh, I have 6 questions. The first is this. Now, the thing about this is nobody remembers the questions. So answer the last one or any one, and you say you forgot the others, right? And then you can be reminded, right? So don't feel you've got to hold in your head this catalogue of questions, right? Questions in the middle of your talk. That won't happen in a 15-minute conference. It might happen in a university seminar. You've got to then say, you could say, good point, I'll go back to that later, let me come back to it, answer, but the answer should be very short. Or if you want to enter into that dialogue with it, you can do that. If you then get completely derailed in time, it's still up to you to finish in 50 minutes. You can't say, because you asked me questions in the middle, I'm now going to take 1 hour and 10 minutes. You still have to finish on time. And that means you've got to make a choice on the fly about what you're not going to say, right? And sometimes it's good, though, to have the dialogue. But it's a judgment. Don't get yourself get derailed, okay? Once you've answered it, take a minute to get yourself back. Difficult questions. We did that and did not get the same result. Yeah. Well, that's because you're incompetent, obviously, right? I'd like to discuss that with you in some detail later, but we noted differently. You can't do that in doing you can't resolve that in that setting. You did not cite my work. Yes, because it was on the Dead Sea Scrolls. No. Yes, we are aware of these pioneering studies, and I should have mentioned them. There's no way around that. Just own it, right? You should do this experiment. This is a cheeky thing that senior people say. Yes, we had the same thought, we're now doing it. Or, great experiment, we'll do it when we get back. Or, let's collaborate. Those are all good answers to that. Long statement with no question, you say thank you. Or you can be a little bit, if they're trying to take a position about something, you can challenge it a little bit. The answer that never fails is what? There's an answer that you're going to have to use. What is it? Everybody has to do this sometime.
Limitation?
No. It's a straightforward answer.
It's a question.
Yeah, that's a statement, right? I don't know.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know.
I don't know. So, but you've got to learn how to say I don't know. Because senior people like me never say I don't know, do we? We never ever say that, right?
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, we don't. But what do we say is, interesting point.
Interesting.
That means I don't know. You didn't know that, did you? We thought this. That means I don't know, and I'm just going to tell you something random because I don't know. We should look into this more. That means I don't know. Okay? So there are ways of saying I don't know. And the reason it is good to learn those is because it opens up a dialogue. I don't know, you don't. Never say I don't know, even if you don't. Polite and rude behavior in talks. Stay on time, be interested, answer questions thoughtfully. Audience, don't do email or iPhone. Talk to your neighbour, get up in the middle, come late, leave before the questions are finished, fall asleep, and do ask questions. It is your honour and obligation to ask the speaker a question. Because look at the effort I've put into this. Right? This is hard work putting this together. And if you're not interested or you can't think of a question, then I feel I haven't done a good job. So you're not going to make me feel bad by asking a question, because I've already tell you I've got 7 ways to say I don't know. But you make me feel bad if you don't ask anything. Let's go down. Okay, hang on a minute. Acknowledgements, be generous, have a slide. If you're in any doubt, put the person's name, really. There's nothing worse than finding yourself in a conference and somebody moved on and they did do something and you haven't acknowledged them. You feel so bad, right? Be generous. It doesn't hurt anybody, right? Nobody's you're giving the talk, nobody's counting, you know, but it can make you feel bad if they come up and say, why didn't you acknowledge me? Not just a seminar. There's the elevator pitch, there's on the plane, there's the romantic dinner, you know, how do you talk about what you do without making the person glaze over and drop dead. There's the bar talk. Bar talk is very interesting actually, how to talk about your work in a way, in a social setting amongst your peers, which hits just that right kind of not too taking yourself too seriously, but being serious enough, right? Your committee meetings, grants, pitching your idea, Thanksgiving. Next time you go to Thanksgiving, I hope you can handle it now, you know, why you're doing something. And of course, in the conference itself. So all of these things are about, if you follow this basic idea of talking about why you're doing something and work on that a little bit, all of these things will go a lot better. And the reason they go a lot better is because it gives something else for the other person to hang on to. This is one of the most watched YouTube, well, since it's political season, God knows what the most watched YouTube is, but this is one of the most watched YouTubes. I recommend it to you. Simon Sinek, it's called The Golden Circle. And it's really interesting. It's nothing to do with science, okay? But he's talking about this basic idea, which I adapted to do for this talk. And of course, I should acknowledge the people in my group who've had to listen to this talk for the last 15 years in its various forms, okay? Okay, any questions? Remember what I told you about questions, okay?
That's what I was just going to start with. So you mentioned that you had 7 ways to say I don't know. What were the other 4?
You can.
Interesting point.
Yeah, I'll give you one, right? But it's about opening a dialogue. Yeah, and you can take the high ground. You can say, at the moment, my understanding in the field is we have data which says this is the way it works and this is the way it works. I don't know. I don't think any of us know at this point which is the right one. So think beyond the teenager answer. You know, how was your day today? Good. What did you do? Stuff? Have you done your homework? Yeah. You know, try to have that open thing where you capture the notion of I don't know, showing that you're thinking about it, right? I need more than one question. I worked hard on this.
When it comes to like potential candidate talk, so say you're going to an institution and it's really a big part of your job interview.
Yes.
Give a talk, like a 15-minute talk. Is there any specific pointers you can give on that? Would you say it's important to focus mainly on your own research, or is it more important, I don't know, to be interesting?
It is important to be interesting. So, roll it back. Anytime you have that question in your mind, and you always should, whenever you go to give a seminar to another university, I'm going on Monday, in fact, call the person up who organised it and say, what would you like me to talk about? And then you can give them 3 choices, right? If it's a job interview, do your own homework, find out what people are doing. And then think, well, they seem to be in similar sort of areas. So and you put yourself in the position of being on the interview panel for the person giving the talk. What do you want to know? You want to know if they have a personality which seems moderately balanced, they're not an egomaniac, that you want to see if there's some kind of connection. You want to see if they make some effort to find out what you are doing, and you want to see some evidence that they've thought about what you might be wanting. So I give a whole workshop on interviewing, but if you understand, jobs are offered for what reason? Why is there a job? Why is there a job on something? What do you think? Why do jobs exist, apart from to give us all?
They need some source of productivity in some area.
Generalize that. Yeah, why? Yeah, there's a problem to solve. There is only a job because there is a problem to solve. And the problem may not be well described by the title of the job, by the way. Right?
That's right.
Okay? Yeah.
Context.
Yeah. So you need to work out, I promise you, if you find out what the problem is they're trying to solve and offer solutions to it, you will get the job every time. It's as easy as that. Because very few people take the effort to do that. You have been selected to give the interview, to have an interview, because they think you can solve some sort of problem they've got. But if you're oblivious of that,
But how could you learn that? Would you just call and ask them?
no, well, I can tell you how to find that out. It's this way. You have to do a little bit of homework, find out what sort of thing they're doing, and then talk about the opportunities and where you can say opportunities for interaction, opportunities for development. You could say things like, I see that from your publications and website that you have a strong interest in diabetes and the mechanisms of diabetes. I have an interest in that from a slightly different point of view, the role of mitochondria in that. Maybe there's some possible interaction. So if you start that dialogue that way, they will start to give you clues about what they want. Yeah.
In a conference, so you have a peer, right? Somebody may be doing similar things.
Right.
So you have to have a strategy, what you are going to present and protect yourself
Yes,
before you
yes.
publish it.
Yes, that's true. So when you choose what you want to present, if you feel you're in an environment which you don't feel secure about sharing the data, then be in a position where the data that you have got is very close to publication or you're preparing it. And in fact, it's a good stimulus because once you've said it, then you've got to write it up. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
I do that all the time. I mean, I always share, well, there's 2 things, right? There's a plus and a minus. I always share the data from the latest thing we're doing for two reasons. One is it surprises people. Two is I get feedback, which otherwise I wouldn't have. Three is the people who review it might be sitting in the room. And in fact, if I suggest them as reviewers, they're almost certainly sitting in the room. So that's the plus side. The negative side is that if you don't have your act together, somebody else in the room might publish a similar thing, right?
Yeah.
But
people speed up, publish there.
yeah, but you've got to take that risk sometimes. But it should be a calculated risk. Make it, you should always talk about the thing. Okay, the reason to talk about the thing that you're doing most and doing now is it's the thing you're most excited about. But it can happen. I have never, in all the years, I've never felt I've been ripped off by giving the work at a conference and somebody running away to do it. Think about it a different way. Do you do that? Yeah. No, do you do that? And I guarantee you, nobody does that. The only reason it will happen is somebody has a very similar idea and very similar data, but that's fair. If you stand up and you talk about your work in a public forum, it's totally fair that they go away and try and publish what they've done. You have done that to you. You have done that. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, you should do that. If you're sitting in the audience and you see that and you have something similar, you should publish it. So it's fair, but it also gives us momentum. Momentum in research is very important. We can all sit on our data longer and longer and longer, but it's very unusual that you have an idea that's completely unique. Very unusual. So it's important that you have a bit of humility about that and don't hang on to your ideas too much, because otherwise you miss the opportunity to publish. You get scooped. So you're more likely to get scooped by being overcautious than by being a bit rash. Because think about it, the person in the audience who's doing the similar thing is still doing the similar thing, whether you talked about it or not. Right? All right, guys, thank you very much. I hope that was helpful.
The knowledge you have to be quite important.
Thank you.
One thing for the data,
Sure. Yeah, please do that. Yeah. Can I end the meeting for all?
Yes, you can. Thank you.